It's the country's #1 RVing radio show, sponsored by RVtravel.com, with your host, Alan Warren, the RV Wingman.
All right, so I'm reading in the RV Travel newsletter, my favorite newsletter about RVing, about today's RVers, and the question they posed was, what is an RVer? It made me think, today's RVer is not easy to describe. I mean, they're full-timers, part-timers, weekend warriors. There's folks who have jobs where they travel, like construction workers, pipeline workers, and nurses, where they live in their RV for many months at a time. They're millennials, and then there's retirees, so there's all kinds of people at RV, and each one is different, right? But are we really all that different? Why is it that all too often we tend to categorize people, and when we do, we often tend to focus on our differences rather than on the things that we have in common? Why is that? Is it because it's easier for our brains to think about the things that we're different about than the things we have in common? If I'm an experienced RVer, should I look down at my nose at newbies who don't have a clue? Or if I'm a full-timer, do I see the weekend warriors that are struggling a little bit? I'm an expert at it, but do I just shake my head at them? Does it seem like to you that we're getting more and more divided, more fragmented than ever, and we're trying to figure people out quicker than ever? We're trying to figure out if they're one of us or not. Well, it seems like that to me. It's easy to see in politics, right? That's what I hate about politics. It's like it's us against them. Yet at the same time, we do have a responsibility. We have to make important decisions. So it is a balancing act. But back to RVing. I got to tell you, most of the time, the them that we talk about and criticize do have some good qualities, and you'd likely see them. I would too, if we just didn't judge them quite so quickly. I think those other people would find out that we're not that bad either, if they just took the time to get to know us. We've all been to theme parks, and there's areas for toddlers and little kids, and areas that are for older kids, things for adults to do. And we don't look at the little kids and young families and make snarky comments like, look at that little kid over there. For most of us, we remember when we were that little kid, right? And we were filled with excitement and joy at simple things. Why can't we have that same joy when we see others that are different than we are? Even those who are different in a campground. What is it about us that makes us so cynical and oftentimes overly critical? Who made you the expert anyway? And who made me the wise know-it-all that I've come to be? Well, I got news for you. I got confidence, or a confession to make. I have an observation. The confession is I'm not really all that wise. I sometimes think I am, but I'm really not. I make mistakes all the time, and I know it. The observation? Well, most folks who RV have got more in common with each other than they have differences. We just need to look past the differences, the obvious differences. Try to be a little bit more understanding. It's not hard to do if we just look at the world through their eyes. A few years back, I was in South Africa. I got invited to go to a rugby match. I'm like, I don't know anything about rugby. I don't know how they play it. I don't know anything about it. But I did understand something when I walked into this giant stadium. There must be something magical about rugby, because I could feel it. I didn't understand the game at all, but I did understand the feeling of excitement. It was impossible to not feel it. I get that same kind of a feeling, if you will, in a nice campground, one that just feels right. I may not know a single person there, but I do know what I feel. And what I feel is probably shared by other people in the campground. That brings us together in spite of some differences. From the first-time newbie who doesn't have a clue, to the weekend warrior, to the family with kids and bikes and toys, to the full-timer who knows everything, or at least they think they do. When you're in a nice campground, there's magic to be found, young or old or wealthy or just getting by. Who doesn't enjoy sitting around a nice campfire, or sipping a cup of coffee on a cool fall morning, or watching a shooting star go across a crisp nighttime sky? So if you start getting the feeling that some people are trying to categorize you, or if you start putting others in a category, I hope you'll try and resist that urge and instead remember that the things that we tend to have in common are more than we may even realize. And don't focus on the differences. I honestly believe that there's something magical about RVing and camping. I believe that in general, the folks that RV, no matter what kind of RVer they are, they're pretty good people. At least that's the way I want to see them. And I hope that that's the way they want to see me. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Post them in the comments if you would, please. Or better yet, call our 24-hour voicemail and leave a message. We love hearing from our listeners. Call us 24/7 and let her rip, as they say. 1-330-WINGMAN.